stay on when we're done to make sure it's uploaded and whatnot?
No, but you just were the first guest to fuck up the intro, talking about nonsensical items.
Or maybe this is the best intro. You know you can edit, for the record.
Amateurs don't edit, okay?
Editing is for professionals.
That's
All
true.
right. Well, hello.
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 It's good to know that you don't listen to our podcast because there's a sense of honesty and truth with that I appreciate. So thank you. Thank you for joining us.
And in fairness, I don't listen to I don't even listen to my own podcast.
Yeah.
No, never listen to your own podcast.
Do you not listen to a podcast? You're not a podcast guy?
I will listen to clips on YouTube, but I don't listen to any podcast exclusively or the full show. No.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I think I've realized. Tell me if you guys do this. I used to be guilty of if I start something, I had to finish it. And now that I've gotten a little older and busier, I'm just like, if I'm not enjoying it, it's done. I shut it.
Yeah. I don't know. Some of them, now if it's, I get what I got. And then I'm like, okay, I don't need to see this all the way through. But it's definitely been harder to listen to. Some of the ones we like there's so much information. And it's like, you'll be listening. I'll be walking the dogs. I'm like, I have no idea what I just heard for the past 10 minutes. And then you have to re-listen. And
yeah. You think you can listen passively, but you can't. No. If you want to gain anything from it. Okay. Your show, Bill, and Kay. You take over.
We're in it. We're in it.
We're just free flowing. So, Jason, why don't you share many people know you, but how do we know you? Obviously through CrossFit, we've worked together, but what do you do now? Who is Jason Ackerman now? What are you doing in your life?
If you say who's Jason Ackerman now, I hope the first thing I would give you wouldn't be what I do for work.
That's good. That was a test. That was a test.
Pass, Bill? Do you like that?
On to question 2.
Okay, so not maybe
normal, right? What do you do? And I'm like my work is should ideally be just a very small part of your life.
Yeah. Or yes, and at least not defining you completely, I would say. Maybe an expression of yourself.
I think for the three of us, we are lucky in the sense that we do what we love. So there's a ton of overlap.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So what do you do?
What, for work?
Yes. Answer that however you like.
For work, and also I should say there's a lot of pleasure and fulfillment in it, but we coach affiliates. We help affiliates become, and by affiliates, I mean CrossFit affiliates, become better at what they do. From business to coaching to mindset, all that. I know Bill doesn't like that word, but all those things, we try to help affiliates do what they love.
Cool. How has that changed? I mean, you started this how many years ago, would you say? It was the inception of Best Hour of Their Day.
Coming up on 4 years.
And do you feel like it's evolved, and in what way? What do you feel like you do now that you didn't do then? Or I think people start a business, or for sure we've talked about this. You have no idea where it's going to go. Is this where you thought it would go, or do you feel like you've kind of evolved into something else? Or
to be fully transparent, it is so far beyond what I ever dreamed it could be. No, I had no. When I say 4 years ago, Fern and I started, Fern being Jason Fernandez, right. We started also part of seminar staff. We started hitting record on a podcast with really no end goal in mind other than put something out there. Along the way, it evolved from just some coaching development to a full-blown curriculum there's 8 of us on the team now, plus a few other kind of subcontractors within there. So no, it has grown. I love it. I'm so proud of it. I enjoy every day. I'm truly at this computer for 8 hours a day, and I wouldn't change it. I mean, I would change it to be fair, but I enjoy what I do. Yeah. But no, I don't know how we got here, and I'm just very grateful that we're here.
That's awesome. That's really cool. I have a lot of I have a lot of respect for that, where it wasn't you weren't handed a roadmap and an implementation guide for how to get from where you started to where you are. You followed this whatever intuitive calling, desire to serve, curiosity, creation, whatever that might be, and allowed yourself to follow some leads and, you know, just follow the scent of what people that you were serving were perhaps asking, and developed and blossomed and unfolded into what it is today. I have a ton of respect for that. That's really, and I'm genuinely like happy for you too. You're obviously like someone whenever we think about you, we have a smile. And so it's like really good to like smile and see you happy and successful. It's awesome.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And yeah, I think it's just been fun to slowly let it evolve. I remember before, and as we were actually getting started, Bill, having a few conversations with you, and you are very much like that. Almost like opposite of what people think. You're very much like, it's a butterfly and it will evolve and all this, right? And I'm like, but it's true. And like, I think sometimes when you kind of let go of those expectations and truly let it kind of simmer or sit or breathe, whatever term, it really, it becomes what it should be.
Yeah.
Bill likes to read, and when I say likes to read, it's borderline, like
Obsessive.
obsessive.
Yeah.
I mean, if there's a book, like we gotta buy it, we gotta buy it, we gotta buy it. And but recently, on the note of podcasts, do you know who Rick Rubin is?
Oh yeah, the producer, the Beastie Boys. Yeah, he's
So,
got a great podcast. I have listened to a couple of his.
Oh, really?
well, he's been on a few podcasts that we listen to, Huberman, Joe Rogan. He's been on Rich Roll because he just released a book, and it's like about the creative process, which is kind of a nice break in like what we maybe normally listen to. But one of the things he said that was like, I think so applicable for everybody, but even in like business, like you building a business, what we're building, is to not create for other people. Like now, obviously we all serve other people, but creating something that you believe in, that you think has value, because you don't know who's going to need that. And if you're trying to just hit all the people's needs and create for all those things, you're probably going to miss the mark. But finding something that you think is valuable, creating something that you want to put out there, people will gravitate towards that. Otherwise, it's sort of a backwards approach that I think you're always feeling like you're missing, who your audience is, what you're trying to do. You don't have that sense of grounding. So it sounds kind of like that's what you guys did.
Yeah, on that, I've read a couple books about the Grateful Dead because I really love the Grateful Dead, and I forget the exact title, but it's like everything I learned about business I learned from the Grateful Dead, like that. And one of them, it's similar to what you're saying, Kay, where it's kind of like let the audience kind of help create it, right? Like whether it's they were putting out live shows or touring and giving everything to the fans. And yeah, I think even way back when I owned my affiliates, accidentally, I think because that was kind of the way I grew up, that was one of the things I always enjoyed. And yeah, I think it still kind of sticks with me.
Cool. What you said you came back from jiu-jitsu. What are you doing these days for your health? What does that look like for Jason?
Oh, I love talking about this. Is like if you say who am I? Like I think at the root of me, it's like I really just enjoy health and fitness. So we're in a new house in Boulder, and our gym, similar to yours, like nice little kind of affiliate, but it's in my basement, not in the garage, which makes it so much easier to train.
Right.
Yeah.
And not having to go outside. So I'd say most mornings I'm in there by like 6:30. 5 days a week I'll try to do I follow like CAP, CrossFit affiliate programming. Actually I did David Osorio, David Osorio.
Yeah.
We have like a little challenge going for the year. So I did that workout this morning. We're doing it once a month, every 30 seconds for 20 minutes, one squat clean to overhead. So today I did at 175. My goal for the end of the year is 225.
So it's the same thing every month. That's cool.
Once a month, just like to have one kind of consistent workout,
Yeah, I like that.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was cool. David did it like in December, and I was like, oh, I like that workout. And it's a cool way to stay connected with other people too. Like
Right.
we have something that we can talk about every month. I train, so I do CrossFit stuff 5 days a week, jiu-jitsu, ideally 3 days a week. Um, if we're talking overall health, I try to eat right. Like you guys, cold plunge
Oh,
every day.
really? You're on
Oh
the
yeah,
cold?
I got the cold plunge like in the room next door here. Like the tub one. I'm not sponsored by Rubbermaid like you, Bill.
Maybe one day you can. You just keep doing it. That's not you don't create it with the end goal in mind.
But wait, do you have a bathtub or?
It's called the cold plunge. It's like
Oh, you
a
have that.
it's like
Hold
a
on.
bath.
Hold on a second.
Am I showing up here? I don't have a little line.
I
don't
see
have
you.
any-
It's us.
Oh, okay. I'm just wondering if.
It's all right.
You
The
guys are like one. You've been together long enough. You're now one.
producer will edit that out. You actually have the cold plunge. You're giving me shit for getting sponsored by Rubbermaid, and you have the
Wow.
cold plunge.
The cold plunge. Now, full disclosure, we built this house, and we built it into the mortgage.
Okay. That makes sense. That's
Smart.
good. That's smart.
Smart.
Yeah, so we bought it. Like the builder bought it.
So we
What's
need to
that?
buy. So we need to buy new houses. That's.
You need to buy a new house. Yeah, it's a very expensive cold plunge. No, I had the ice barrel at my old house, and look, anything's cool. For me, it was more about the act of having to go get ice every day would be a limiting factor. So
Yeah.
whatever time of day I want, I try to do it every day. I'd say realistically, it's like 5 days a week I get in it for like, I try to do like somewhere between 6 and 8 minutes
What's the
and
temperature at?
40.
Yeah. How do you decide like you're going to go in that day or not? Or what do you like how do you feel your relationship to going in like missing a day?
Yeah, no, I want to get cold every day. So, but it's more like a couple things. One, I try not to do it immediately post workout. They say like for recovery it's good, for hypertrophy not as ideal, and I am still trying to make gains, so I don't do it then. We have a membership at Lifetime. Roz coaches at Lifetime, and we go for like Madison for swimming. So I'll steam or sauna and do cold showers, and that's like so easy compared to the plunge. Like as you guys,
I feel
well,
like the shower
you're
is
hot
so
first.
worse. Okay.
Yeah, I do agree. I think a shower is harder than the plunge, but it's so much easier. Like coming out of a steam room, you're like, oh, this feels great for a minute.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So this winds up being like usually like post like 5 o'clock at night.
Oh,
and
wow.
it's like it takes every ounce of energy to get in it. Like I see what you guys are posting, and it's so true. Once I'm in it, I can suffer for like 6-7 minutes, but it's the physical act of going downstairs and actually getting in it.
Yeah, we do it in the morning first thing. Like
that's crazy.
But I think it's better when at night, like if we let the dogs out, the thought of going out at that time of day is like painful. But in the morning, there's just something different. Yeah.
I think I'd have a hard time sleeping.
What's that?
I think I'd have a hard time sleeping. I feel maybe it's just that it's the beginning of the day, but I feel like I have an uptick of significant energy once I get out of it.
I agree. I think if I were really going to do it ideally, it would be first thing, get dressed, workout.
Yeah.
Right.
I haven't wrapped my head around that yet. But the other day was like 4 degrees here, and I couldn't get in it. I was like, and to be fair,
inside.
It's inside, but it was just so cold in Colorado. And I tell you what, I didn't think about this till we got on. I knew I was coming on here, and like I've been thinking about you guys a lot, and partly because Kay's been like blowing me up, making sure I don't miss the podcast, which I've never, not showing up to something. But I was like, and I feel like this is something you would say, Bill. I was like, it's okay. Like, this does not define me if I skipped going. Like, I'm not a weak person because I don't want to be cold today. Like, I still worked out. I still ate right. I still did more than 99% of the world. And I was like beating myself up about it. And I was like, who cares? Like, go take a warm shower and chill out. And that's what my body needed more than the cold. But I was thinking about you when I did that.
Well, that's good
Yeah,
to hear.
I put up a post recently about day 31 because we're kind of in like a 30-day challenge. We went out to visit Miranda and Julian, and they had started doing the cold plunge, and we thought, oh, that's cool. We'll start. And the challenge for me is not the hard part, like doing all 30 days. It's like day 31. Like, okay, now how do you define the choice to get
I
in?
thought
And
you guys posted that today, actually, right?
yeah, yeah, and
Yeah.
I think it's sometimes, I was saying to Bill, I went to therapy and I brought up this ice bath as like a metaphor for some things. And she's like, what if I asked you to take a day off from the challenge? And I told her, like, that makes me like 1,000 times more uncomfortable than what it feels like to sit in 34-degree water. And I think it's just something, yeah, it's a good reminder. Like, this is not defining me. This is something I do and having agency in it. But it's really been cool for us, like, to have that psychological experiment and like what thoughts present themselves, like, how your relationship with that water changes. And it's been really an interesting experiment, I would say. So
Yeah, and you guys are probably familiar with Alex Hormozy.
yeah.
He said something similar where it was like, if you need this, and this being a cold plunge, a workout, to eat a certain way, and it's now a crutch, it's just as negative, right, as if you're not doing it. And that's how I felt. I was like, if I need to get cold to feel like I'm a good person,
Right.
like,
Yeah.
losing the point of doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
it's different. Like, you're in the midst of I think being in the midst of a 31 day challenge where you want to commit to something is one
Sure.
thing. And now you should be comfortable, no different than a nutrition challenge at a box.
Right.
The challenge is always, okay, what's on day 31, 32? Okay, now I do it 5 days a week, or I do it when I feel like it's appropriate, and I don't
Right.
feel bad. I don't beat myself up
Yeah.
Yeah.
when I
Yeah.
don't do
I think it's one of those things too that it's so easy to fall into allowing the external to sort of apply the label for us as opposed to creating the label that we want and then self sort of embodying it or whatever. And so we get into these things like, well, Seth Godin, the Seth Godin marketer kind of guy, has a thing of
Mhm.
like, hey, marketing can be summed up as people like us do things like this. As CrossFitters, we do blah, blah, blah. We wear these types of clothes. We shop at these stores. Okay. But then in like one's own personality, it's the same thing. And we construct a personality based upon the things we do. And while, yes, those are expressions, it's so easy for that to consume and control. And it's like, so how long have you been doing the cold plunge for?
Probably 3 years now.
Jesus.
All right.
I'm
You
ahead
did.
of everything. You think I've
Yeah,
been doing
you
jujitsu
are.
longer than everybody, cold longer than everybody? By the way, you acted like I created cold water, Kay. Like,
So, so the 3 years, like who the fuck were you 4 years ago? Because if you're the type of person that you are because of a habit that you've been doing or a practice that you've been doing for these 3 years, then to say that if I don't do this, then I'm that. Well, what about before that entered your existence? What does that say? And logically you'd be like, wait, yeah, no, that doesn't make obviously any sense. But how quickly people fall into this
Yeah, letting it define
trap
them.
of identity construction, and I think
yeah.
that's like
Yeah.
so that's great to hear you have some freedom,
Cool.
some liberation, and some truth.
Well,
That's
and
cool.
that's, a lot of people, that 75 hard has become pretty popular.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
not a
yeah, me neither. Mostly because I've seen people that finish it and they kind of go a little crazy at the end.
right.
Yeah.
Like, they're like, I need to eat, like, I'm not working out for an hour and a half a day. Who am I? Like Bill is suggesting. And for me, I'm kind of looking at it like, I'm like 365 hard. Like, and I don't mean that like, I'm like, like, I work out almost every day. I eat right almost every day. I drink water. I try to read, just, I'm not obsessed like Bill, but I read at least 10 pages. And then it's like, cool. Like, you're living what, like modern man, woman should be doing, and think because you did it for 75 days, it's a big thing. Like, I'd rather you do it forever and take a rest day and, enjoy a treat once in a while, whatever you want to define that. Like, like, to me, that's far more impressive than I could do anything for, like, I'll fast for 75 days, right? Like, that's like, I mean, I don't want to.
Yeah, I think it's the intentionality. Often it just becomes like checking that box and not really the purpose of reading is to like be curious and to learn. And if it's just like opening your eyes and looking at words and be like, okay, I did it, like then we're missing something. So
That's a really good way of looking at it. It's like, cool. Like, are you doing it to check off day 34? Like, because you're no longer, like we were talking about with podcasts, like, if you're just putting it on because you think I need to be listening to something to be productive, but you're not actually taking
taking it.
anything in, like, you're just checking a box, and that's not. And I think that is where a lot of the world has gone. Like, I'm doing this because I'm checking a box versus like I'm actually trying to grow as a human being.
Yeah.
I agree.
Well, what a nice segue
Oh,
into the little experiment that we hope you did. We
so is that workout the dose, or is the dose a monthly workout?
Yeah, so the dose is actually a weekly workout.
Weekly workout.
It's a monthly subscription. It
Okay.
starts actually it starts on February 6th. So, but every week is a workout, and they're generally challenging physical workouts, but they all have a intention, mindset, whatever you want to call it, framework to think about something, not just getting the workout done. So this first workout, we actually did it and did it every week for a month just to kind of see the evolution of it, just for fun and to experiment. But we thought it'd be cool to ask our guests to do a dose workout and then kind of see what came up. So what was your experience of the tolerance workout? I mean, in any way you want to answer that, maybe physically and also the mindset.
Okay, so when I first saw it, I was, somewhat nervous, knowing we'd talk about it also. Also, it's based on body weight, and I'm heavier than I want to be, right? I was joking with Carter. I was like, so we're basically going to talk about I'm chubby right now. So I'm 160, and it's 10% of your body. So 16, it's all even numbers, which was cool. 16 calories, 5 rounds equaled 80.
Right.
16 calories for me is hard to do in a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I will say at first you have this feeling of like, oh, okay, I'm going to fail.
Yeah.
When did you have that? Before you even started or when you got into it?
No, before I even started.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Because I was like, that's not possible for me to replicate 5 straight minutes. It would literally be like a 5 minute straight workout for me.
Right.
But then, I text you, and so what it wound up being is every other minute.
Uh-huh.
Which isn't easy for me.
Yeah.
No. Because you still have to get that 16 calories, right? Like it's like, oh, the time. It's like, yeah. The effort, though.
Yeah, that's a big effort for me to get that. But it was a cool challenge. I really enjoyed the workout, and again, training in my basement, I look at workouts as like, oh, that's an easy, repeatable one where I can see if I get better.
Right.
And it's like no brainer. Like, I can do it. Either I can lift something and then do it at the end. If it's all I want to do for the day, it's like still going to leave me on my butt at the end.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a minute on, minute off, 9 minutes because the 10th minute was rest. I can get I think I did the first minute in like 40 seconds.
Yep.
And I didn't go for the second minute because I was like, I will not hit it. So I went into it intending to do every other minute.
Got it. If you were to
right?
do,
Did I do it wrong?
There's no wrong.
Rule number one. So back in like when I was in the military, there's like the rules of special operations. Rule number one: always look cool. All right.
I looked cool.
Rule number two was don't be lost. Rule number three was if you're lost, look cool. All right. Like
I like that.
But for between the ears, rule number one, like our primary rule is be honest. That's all it is. Like just be honest. And if that was your honesty, like, hey, this is honest, this is how I want to do, like, there's only one person who knows that, and that's going to be you. How I did the workout, how Cariana did the workout, how you did the workout, how Chris Hinshaw did the workout, how our members are doing the workouts, those are all different because the individual honesty is what it is. If it was a competition and we wanted to have standardized, like, yeah, of course. But that's the point really with some of the dough stuff, where it's not so much what are the rules and regulations like the Rogue Challenge, but what's the invitation? And the invitation is to be honest, is to have this concept, explore it through movement, and have it be this mirror in which you reflect back upon yourself, and this window through which you can look into yourself. And all that to say, if you did it honest, you did it right.
Yeah, and I look at, I think I can do it. Meaning I can do it 5 consecutive minutes, and that's kind of along with what I was saying about that workout with David. I think that's one of my goals too. Now I want to be able to do that. It'd be a challenge, but and in my mind, I'm like, it's only 5 minutes.
Yeah.
The first, so the first week to the last week was vastly different.
We did it for
both
weeks.
of us. Yeah. And the first week, like, I was like, I can't do this. Like the pain, like the discomfort. I mean, and the last week it took me out for the day. Like I was, and but it was cool to see that and know, like, okay, this is going to be hard. This is going to be uncomfortable. Like, it wasn't exactly. I mean, it was linear, but it might not be linear. But that's also part of like the tolerance, like very similar to ironically, to like the cold plunge. The first time you went in to like now, I mean, yes, there's always a hurdle. Like, I don't think anybody gets like, oh yeah, it's just like getting in a sauna, like a hot tub. But you definitely get you build that resiliency to like, okay, I know the discomfort I'm going to feel, but like it's worth it because I feel good after, or whatever the reason is. So what was your experience, your relationship with like that notion of like tolerance and like the discomfort?
I think the longer you do this fitness thing, you kind of know what